Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today is August 25th. It's a Thursday, and we're almost to September, which means it's back to school. It means it's back to conference season. It means the NFL season is upon us, and fall, right? For the places that actually get more than one season, will be on us, right? I actually was just the other weekend grabbed some apple cider, donuts, cinnamon donuts things. So, it's fall when those come out. But just did some general housekeeping before we kind of get too far down the line. MSPinitiative.com. That's where you can find all of our content, including this session and every other session we've ever recorded will be under the sessions menu, right? So you can get them in podcast and video format. So if you like to watch or listen while you drive, whatever you like, it's all there. 3 really good MSP community block parties coming up. One in Washington, D.C. on night 2 of DattoCon at the Nationals MLB Baseball Stadium. So you can find out more information about that here on the dattocon.com website. We'll be doing a boat party, bringing back, a page from the past. We'll be doing at the Diplomat in Fort Lauderdale with Taylor Business Group and the big conference. We have a 5-story mega yacht that will be taken out on the water, and everybody always remembers that boat. And then lastly, we'll be doing one in Orlando on International Drive, in November. So 3 really good, crazy plans coming up on these parties. Can't wait for them. Hopefully you guys will come out. And then lastly is Channel Strong. The Channel Strong tour has 3 weeks left. Weeks 6, 7, and 8, out of the 8 that we planned for the year. So at the end of September, Denver, Tulsa, Topeka, St. Louis, mid or kind of late October, Vegas, Phoenix, Temecula, Irvine, California. And then at the very end of November into the first couple of days of December before, you totally check out for holiday time, we'll be in Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, Orlando, Atlanta. So if you're in any one of those areas, you're an MSP, go to channelstrongtour.com, fill out, put in your name. We'll get you out there. Love to network with you, learn a few things, talk shop, grab a couple beers in, your favorite backyard. So that is the background and the setup information. It's not the first time. This is like a repeat performance here. Bring back my good friend, Tom Watson. And Tom, since we've last talked to you, you've now moved to a new company and a new role. Let's hear about it, my friend.
Yeah, George. Well, first I'd like to touch on a couple things you just went over. I will be we'll be at DattoCon, and Titanhq is a sponsor of the Nationals event you are putting on. So we're going to be there. I'm just referring to as Clash of the Titans for the whole thing. So sorry about that. I kind of rebranded it. But
I'm all for it.
But also, and I'll be on the bus September 26th through 30th for the Midwest tour.
Awesome.
But getting back to this, I know George for going back, it must be like 2008, 2009, somewhere in there.
These were my early ConnectWise days, folks. I mean, I was trying to figure out how to use the platform, and no offense to the people who are running onboarding back in the day, I had to go to user groups to figure out how the hell this thing worked, because it was faster for me to learn that way than whatever the way I was supposed to be learning. Tom was one of those guys who sat at the table across from me and said, "This is what you got to do, man." And once we got past the complexity of how software is supposed to work to help your business, we really got to talk business, right? Actual day-to-day, boots on the ground, in the trench business of the technology space. And me and Tom cut our teeth way back when managed services was still a new marketing term, right? It was right after hosted went to cloud and IT services went to managed services. That was the heyday, man.
Absolutely, it was. Yeah, and we got to know each other back then. I was an MSP owner. Fast forward, and I have now worked for 3 vendor companies that sell the IT channel. I was at Accent for a few years as VP of MSP Best Practices. I was at Ninja One as Channel Chief Advisor, and now I've made my way over to Titanhq. Just started in May. Already done a ton of work at Titan. Loving the position. Lots of travel, lots of shows. and a lot of this kind of content. Really appreciate, George, you having me on here.
Hey man, anytime. I love talking shop with you. I mean, like, because it's actually people that have been in the street and like know what it takes to like crawl underneath the desks and like get past people who just want to duct tape things. Because we did it all.
Have the desk fall on you? You've had that before, right?
I've had the desk fall on me. I've had the drop ceiling fall on me too.
Oh yeah.
Oh
I had
yeah.
a guy fall through a drop ceiling. He was up there
Mm-hmm.
running cable,
Mm-hmm.
fell through and grabbed onto one of the rafters coming down, and
Mm-hmm.
almost landed on my dispatcher's head.
Yeah, it's been done. It's
Yeah,
definitely
the
IT guys should not be
office
on
space of an
ladders.
MSPs is not glamorous, as you know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, ladders are kryptonite, man. They really are. We should stay away from them at all costs. But anyway, no, I mean, the cool part, Tom, is that, as much as the business has changed, right? Going back from what, 8, 9, 10, early, late 2000s there, some things stay the same too, right? Like there's some stuff that has absolutely not changed in running a successful company as an IT services provider. And then there's things that have like evolved since, right? But
Right.
I kind of, I know it's cliche, right? It's like, hey, you got to have your blocking and tackling down, and then you can like roll out the playbook and get fancy, right? If you forget the blocking and tackling part, it always crumbles because the foundation's is not good. So I mean, me and you can talk about this forever.
Oh,
Uh,
that's very true. I think about that all the time. I'm talking to MSP owners, people wanting to get into the business, just the basics of what you need to have to run a business, operations, and not to mention when you start branching out into these other areas, your marketing, you're developing sales teams, but a lot of it is the same. The basics of business don't change.
yeah. And it just, as much as you keep on stacking on, and I know security is the next greatest frontier and you're 12 products deep and all that jazz, like, hey, the house of cards can fall, right? If the stuff at the bottom isn't right, you can't really stack and make it grow and capture the revenue, right? I can't tell you how many times somebody actually takes the time to go back and figure out why they're not making money, and they found out that they're not even billing properly for the products that you're supposed to be charging for, and like just basics. So but Tom, I think you got some pretty cool news coming out, and I've never had time to actually go and do this, but word on the street is you're about to launch your new book.
I started work on this book last year, and I have a draft copy of it. And it's great. I've been in this role at Titanhq for a little over 3 months now, and I brought it to our head of marketing, Dryden Geary, and I said, "Listen, I got this book I'm working on, and I'd kind of like to do this with the company and put some promotion around it. This is not, George, I want to make clear, this is not something I'm looking to make money off of. This is something that is more thought leadership. It's about, I want to let people know what I've learned because I think I have an interesting perspective on it that, I know there's a lot of people that have been on the MSP side. I've been on the MSP side and sold one successful exit. But in particular, I've now been working in sales and marketing departments at 3 different vendors. And what it's done is it's completely shifted how I view certain parts of running an MSP. And in particular, I think operational, I had that down really well. You talked about ConnectWise and using those tools and things like that. The move to managed services, I did that back in 2008, 2009, very successfully, contracted everyone up. But what I didn't know how to do really well was build sales teams, establish funnels. I didn't know how to build marketing plans, do, real marketing content, do things that were sticky in terms of marketing. And now I look back because all these skills I've gained on the vendor side, and I say, these skills translate over very well to MSPs because on top of just how to market, they also are marketing like products that we sell to them. And so adding that assistance to them gives them something. I figure if I can put all this into a book, I can really give something to MSPs they can use to help scale their companies.
I mean, listen, I've heard for the better part of 15 years now that sales and marketing, some, like we said, how some things never change. Sales and marketing, hiring talent, retaining talent, right? Like these are the top 3, 4 topics that come up every time, right?
Right.
And quite frankly, there's a lot of roads that lead to Rome, right? Like there's not one predefined way, right? But there's a lot of things that you can be doing to go down a path that ultimately result in an outcome. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna maybe pick your brain. I hope I'm not giving anything special secrets away from your book, Tom. How many times has somebody come to you and said, I spent all this money. I tried SEO, I tried the ads, like I'm doing paid, I'm doing,
Yeah.
nurtured content. And then like they put 3-4 months in and they're like, it doesn't work.
I was at Evolve a couple weeks ago. I talked to a couple people and they were frustrated by marketing and they were telling me some of these same stories you're talking about. It hasn't worked for us. And you get into it and there's always this point where they stop doing it. They didn't stick with it, or it wasn't that campaign style marketing. It didn't carry on. It didn't have enough touches. It didn't have I told him, the guy said, what would you do if you were doing it today? Which is actually like the whole thing of my book is if I were doing it today. And I was like, you know what I'd do? I'd find a way to do a lunch and learn every month for 12 months. And then I would not only do lunch and learn, I'd video part of it. I'd clip it. I'd put it out there. I'd write follow-on blog posts. I'd have topics. And I would create each one of those webinars into not just one piece of marketing content, but it would be like 3 or 4. And then by the end of the year, I'd have 12 times 4. I have 48 things that came out of that. And I said, I guarantee you do this, find a way. I said, you can get vendors to pay for most of it. You do this, and there's no doubt you will end up with clients from this.
I agree 100%. And I just think that people, I almost feel, and not to take a new thing and kind of smash it with an old thing, but I feel like so many people got used to doing things like this, right, behind the screen, that they haven't shifted totally back to kind of the local marketing grind. And I feel like that's a mistake.
Yeah, and it's a
do.
grind. It is a grind. I think a lot of people run into the problem with it is, how do you balance this? Is like, first of all, if you're the MSP owner and you have employees out there in the field and you're also closing sales deals, no, you probably can't do it yourself. I mean, it's almost next to impossible, because marketing is going to require, if you make those touches, they got to happen on schedule each time. You got to get it done. It can't be like, hey, I sent out this one email and then the second email is supposed to go out next week and it goes out a month later. It doesn't work. It's got to be done things like you do it. Like George, you do this every week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of work, because you're on the road twice a week every week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're on the road every day, but you find a way, because you know that pattern is so important that if you set that bar down, you go and miss 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people go, oh, I guess he doesn't do those anymore. They don't tune in again.
100%. And here's the reality, right? Like, consistency is so important, right? But actually being able to come up, we like to follow the current trends, right? We do this on this call a lot, right? Hey, what's new? What's coming out? What's changed? I know a lot of news this year has been about mergers and acquisitions. We all know what that means. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to, there's a day-to-day, dialogue that can happen, right? And not to beat a dead horse, but anytime we go to an event, right, it's the hallway and the bar conversations that ultimately generate most of, I get there's breakout sessions, I get there's keynotes, and I'm not saying that content's not good, but I'm just saying, if I can sit down across the table from Tom and be like, Tom, I'm struggling, my customers don't want to replace their hardware until the thing's melting and smoke's coming out the back. What are you doing, man? How'd you fix this problem? And then Tom's like, yeah, I just do the hardware as a service. I'm like, how did you get it off the ground? Because I can't figure it out. That's the type of stuff that really moves the needle forward. I really believe that.
I do too, yeah. And that problem actually is an interesting one, because a guy brought that up to me a couple weeks ago when I was on the road, and he's like, my clients won't do this. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, if they won't do something, you didn't set the expectation when you entered the business relationship and contract or the requirement. And he said, if they're saying they won't buy this from you or they won't refresh their hardware, you should have made them sign something in the contract that says the hardware refresh happens at this many years for this kind of machine, at this many years for this kind of machine, period.
I mean, here's the reality, right? You can't really run your business efficiently if you're dropping everything and going every time somebody calls, because that's the customer's expectation, right? They think, hey, if you're the replacement IT department, if this dude's sitting in a cubicle down the hallway and I need help, he's going to stop what he's doing, come and help me. I mean, when you actually have to send somebody to a location to plug in a wire, and I'm sure we've all had crazy stories, Tom. I'm sure you can think of mine is, the getting a call and the guy's like, oh, I broke the cup holder. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The one that comes out of the front of the computer. I'm like, oh, you mean the DVD drive? They're like, yeah, it has a circle. I put the cup on it. I'm like, no, that's not meant to be used for a cup. Like, I'm sure everybody has crazy stories like that, but like, imagine, right? I have another one where this person really should have never been touching a computer ever. Like, should have been excommunicated from technology. And like, you would show up and like cords were ripped out of the back of the computer, and like the thing had 2 rolls of scotch tape holding it together. And I'm like, what did you do? Oh no, it came like that. What do you mean it came like that? And like the person played dumb, and you're just like, why are you touching technology?
Well, my favorite actually are the hard loop stories. And you'd have an unlocked server room. So someone's like, oh, something's not working. The cable's not plugged in. They go in there and they hook something up and they end up plugging the switch into itself.
Oh yes.
And then, and I don't need to tell you, George, how hard those are to figure out what happened.
Oh yes.
And you're out there for hours. You just got data just colliding. And then you finally go, did someone go in here?
Yes. And that happens all the time. Thankfully, the newer switches, right, have that spanning protocol to prevent that. But if you don't have that, yeah, the whole network's down. You got to drop everything. You run out and you're like, dude, you plugged everything in on itself.
You can't find out. You can't figure out what happened either.
You like literally just start unplugging stuff until you plug one in at a time until you figure it out, right?
You got 200 cables on the floor.
Madness, man. Madness. So this new book, right? Like you're going to be launching it at IT Nation, right?
I am. Yeah, we're IT Nation. There's going to be a whole team of 6 of us from Titanhq there. And we're going to have that book. I'm going to have probably a select number of copies, do a little signing, give those away for free. Like I said, this is not a profitable thing for me. This is trying to pass something on to MSPs. And then we're going to make copies of the ebook available for free, a certain number. And then following on from that, we're going to have a webinar series on each chapter, breaking it down. Probably have you on, George, to discuss some particular chapters. I know we did a lot of that in the past in terms of content. But kind of put together a whole, and you'll see what I'm doing here. I'm going to put together a whole, like marketing-wise, a whole campaign built around it, where it's not just the book being released in a hard copy form and then in an ebook form, but it's then broken apart and utilized in different ways so that you can take that information how is best for you. Someone else might want to just read the book. Another person might just want to read the webinars. Another person, might want it a different way. And I'm going to try to cater to everyone, but I'm going to make those touch points in all those different ways that makes it more consumable for a larger public.
Well, I am looking forward to read this. I'm sure I'm going to see some stories in there that I know we've talked about in the past, because like it's just the nature of the beast. But and then basically you're going to be executing what's in the book on its launch, right? So people can kind of see it in action and see what's behind a legitimate marketing plan and a sales plan that counters a marketing plan. Because I can't tell you how many times people are like, oh, sales and marketing. It's like, no, these two things connect. Like sales and marketing are really supposed to be working in parallel. One doesn't sit on an island from each other, but I think people have a hard time understanding that concept.
It's funny you say that, George, because I'm a channel chief, kind of the 3rd time I'm in this role, but I'm on more sales meetings, and that's a marketing role, by the way. It's technically marketing. I'm on more sales meetings at each one of these roles I've been at 3 companies than I am no more sales meetings. I'm on marketing meetings, because my job has so much to do with sales. I spend more time with that group, even though I report under marketing.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, I think, and listen, Ken Patterson said this 1,000 times, about community, right? And like the channel side of the business. And so many times that gets tucked underneath of marketing when, he says he feels like community should be its own animal, right?
Yeah.
But they all feed into the relationship, right? And obviously the goal here is that, people are utilizing products that help, run their business, help their end customers. But if they're not feeling the love, then they're less likely to actually, collaborate, right? And figure out what products and vendors fit their need. But, community is important. And I think a lot of people don't understand the right way to do that part. But then there's there's still somebody who needs to answer the phone on the other end, right? I mean, I'm sure we all love going to trade shows, Tom, and we can talk about how much it costs to get that table and the 2 chairs, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, like we're buying cars here, like a nice one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, that does feed into whatever the product or service that is on the other side. So I agree with you. Like, sales and marketing do definitely feed off of each other. And if there's not a legitimate collaboration between the two, I think people are doing it wrong. And I think that's why, and unless you tell me otherwise, I think that's why so many business owners in the IT services space just don't get that portion, because they're maybe too technically focused and they don't understand, other than referrals, what it takes to actually go past a certain point.
Well, George, I think you hit something that is a really great topic here, is that, yeah, right. I sign these agreements all the time for basically a car. If people look at it, other people, the companies I've been doing, they're like, you're paying how much for what? And I'm like, yeah, that's 40 grand for 2 days of a booth and 2 of us there. And they're
Hold on,
like,
hold
yeah,
on. That 40,000 is just so that you can show up. That
yeah,
doesn't include the stuff you shipped and the stuff
airfare,
you're giving
hotel,
away.
all the gear you're giving away, everything else like that, taking people off the sales floor, whatever it is. I mean, the costs are, a 40 grand show is costing you more like 60, 65, 70 even. It gets up there. But then you have to say to them, and that's I think what's missing often for a lot of business people in every industry is, but what can you get out of it if you do it right, if you execute? Like I gave that example of lunch and learns. You do 12 lunch and learns in a year, you get maybe vendors to pay for 50% of it. Maybe you're going to drop 25 grand on it. But what would that 12 lunch and learns, if you execute those properly and you get the follow-on video clips and blog posts and everything like that, what could it bring you? It could bring you millions in potential revenue over the years, millions for a $25,000 spend. So that's one of the big differences, and I had to learn it on the vendor side. Was, yes, these are huge sums we're dealing with, but we're going to get MRR out of this. And whereas we're paying one time to do this, we're getting MRR on the back end, and MRR will always trounce that one time spend.
Well, we
Better.
we could go down a very dark hole here, but let's
Yeah,
be
we
fair.
can do
Let's
that.
be fair. I
Yeah.
know a lot of guys who, and we know some of the names are widely known, right? That started things out of their MSP because they had an idea and something was missing and they wanted to go fix it and build it. And those turned into successful vendor software companies on the other side of the aisle. But let's be straight here. It is a little bit of a rough road once you cross the other side of the train tracks, because there is no mercy, right? Like, they're going to charge you tooth and nail to show up through the front door. And there's no guarantee in the beginning that comes back. We talked about how long does it take before your marketing comes back to you, right? The SEO and ads and whatever. Sometimes trade shows don't convert for a long time.
No. They're right. You're right. You'll have leads that, you can't get a hold of them. It goes a long time, and you're in the hole for 60, 70 grand. And sometimes they don't pay back. But the fact is, one of the things we know on the vendor side that we get across is we don't give up. We'll still go to the next trade shows, the next 5, 6 that year, whatever we're doing, because we know that if we stick with it, the visibility and being out front like you are with this twice a week, it eventually gets those touches in, and it gets people like seeing you as credible. And then it goes, oh, I keep seeing these guys. Maybe I should talk to them. Maybe I should take that call.
Well, until you run out of credit card spend, and then all of a sudden you're in trouble. As a small vendor, right? Obviously, you grow over time, but
wasn't that like 2019 ConnectWise? You rented the bar out and like just maxed out all the credit cards. You're like, I'm gonna make this thing happen. Did I just reveal something, George? I'm sorry. Did I cross the line?
Listen. Some of these places, like, so when we do these community block parties, right? They're expensive, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So these people want to, like, how these all work is, if you didn't prepay, and sometimes it's impossible to know what the final amount's going to be. There's always like an overage because every drink has a cost, believe it or not. Even water has a cost. Trust me. At the end of the night, they want to be paid, right? These venues expect to be made whole by the time they close the door. literally like bringing like a stack of credit cards. You're like, all right, put 10,000 on this, put 8,000 on this, put 6,000 on this. And hold on, I'm gonna bring some people live onto the call because they're gonna love this. My friends over here, like Darren, who loves points, right? He's like, there's two people I know that are major points program people. Darren is like,
I'm big time.
okay, all right. Darren always talks about his Marriott points and his Delta points and all this other stuff. So like, hey, that helps on the credit card points. I'm not gonna lie, but when you're breaking up like a 6-figure bar tab and you're like, all right, put some on this, put some on this, put some on this. Yeah, they didn't care as long as it's swiped. They're happy.
But that's right. I remember that story in 2019. You're like, Tom, I made this happen. I had every credit card and I maxed them all out. And I'm sure you had ROI on that. But that's a big move. That takes a lot of guts to do that. Just like I'm gonna wing it, and it works.
Well, you know what?
But you stick with it.
I'll tell you what. There's the party business is not a money-making business. That I can promise you. Like, you hope that it pays for you after the fact, but like the actual like math of those things, there's a lot of burn, man. There's a lot of time investment. But you know what? Sometimes you got to go big in order to get a good result, right? And that's where these, that's really where the community block parties came up, right? I mean, we're just like, well, if every single person who's showing up to pay for the 40, 50, 60, whatever $1,000, table with 2 chairs, is going to take somebody out to dinner or somebody to the bar, right? And they're going to drop a couple grand each, right? We're like, why don't we just pile that money into a bucket and do something big, right? And so that was a lot of faith in the beginning to pull these things off. I'm not gonna lie, but they worked.
How hard was the first one? Like first one where you're like, just to pull the trigger on that.
It took a leap of faith. It did, because think about it. Like, imagine $135,000 bar bill. I mean, that's a nice chunk of your mortgage or whatever ridiculous car that you can buy with at that price. Trust me. So it took a leap of faith, but you know what? It worked out, and it continues to, right? Because you know what? It's a community, angle, right? I mean, if you're gonna go to the hotel bar, be my guest, but like you can go to the bar, you can get free drinks too, and still get some cool events, some cool entertainment. I mentioned it earlier, right? At Autotask Community Live back in 2017, which was the last one before Autotask and Datto merged. We did this 5-story mega yacht party, and like people still bring it up. I get random people be like, dude, were you on that boat? I'm like, I was like, Florida, right? 2017. They're like, that was the one. I'm like, years later, they still talk about this.
That it still has marketing value then. I mean, like still because it was really sticky in how it was, that memory in there. So people still talk about it, and you're the guy. And if you can pull that off, what can you do for their company?
I mean, that's the problem, to some degree, right? I'm not saying this works for everyone, but to some degree, that's where more than referral, has, like to get past the referral only growth strategy, you need to, do something different, right? You need to step out of the cave. You need to do something that kind of brings people together, and people remember, it's about the experience, right? I mean, I know that sounds like fluff a little bit, but experience are what people remember. And like the breakout may not be what they remember, but like if you can, Tom's saying, hey, for $25,000 over the course of 12 months, you could get a pretty cool program going, which will actually grow your business. I wish I could only spend 25,000. Like you're hearing, we're spending commas and zeros here, right? Like it's crazy. 25,000. I wish that would be great.
No, you're at many, many multiples of that. It's more like, 7 figures over a year, I'm sure.
Ask Pete. He's on the call. Pete hears me talk about this all the time. There's definitely a blood pressure moment every once in a while where you're like, oof.
We're gonna max out Pete. We're gonna max out Pete's credit card. Get some points.
Oh boy.
It makes you think that I haven't maxed some of them out. But I just got gray hairs from my kids. George is helping me go bald.
Hey man, I'm helping you join the club. I'm helping you join the club. I can write a book on all the cheat sheets here for this. It'd be good. Anyway, but hey, I feel bad because Pete lost his race car earlier this year on the Channel Strong Tour. I got a little damaged, and then that damage turned into that car not coming back. So I feel bad, right? But talk about a guy who put his favorite toy out on the road for a little bit of
Wait,
marketing.
I don't understand how this thing. I keep seeing these references to how it got damaged. It's not like a new reference to how cars get damaged. So maybe you can explain that a little
it's
bit.
sure. So it was in the trailer, and the last 12 inches of the left side of the trailer got hit while it was being merged over into a left lane. And
Okay. All
inside the
right.
car, inside the trailer,
All right.
are the fenders, right, of the trailer because of the width and the enclosed. So they're just high enough so the car shifted from one side into a fender and then back to the other side on the fender or on the quarter panel. So it creased each quarter panel right in front of the wheel, which requires a full quarter panel replacement. It's carbon fiber underneath, right? So they have to replace the carbon fiber and the rocker panels. But also there was some damage to the front right fender because of the way that it rested final in there. So
Okay. Yeah.
there was a body shop. Nissan requires that particular car to do a certified shop to buy parts, and it was 25K of damage at a regular body shop the minute you threw 30, and there was only 7 of them on the East Coast. And we ended up taking it to the one shop that was the boutique, right? It's not an auto body shop, it's a boutique. And quite honestly, they stole the car in a matter of speaking. They first told the insurance company, it'll be about 30-ish. And the insurance company said, well, we don't write checks for 30-ish. We need details. And then they came back and, well, it's going to be 40-ish now because we got to do this. And they said, well, we don't write checks for 40-ish, but you're really going to have to justify 20K up. And they just kept stacking it in. And then equipment they were supposed to have, they put like $8,000 in the quote for rental of this piece of equipment that they had to rent, but under Nissan certification. So story short is they ran it up into the 50-ish mark. And that's when insurance said, we can't do it. We're gonna
Total.
declare it a total loss. But that boutique is now under investigation by the insurance company for trying to do what we would call steal a car. And what they do is they run up the number enough that it goes to salvage, then they buy the salvage, then they fix it, and then they make a $40,000 profit. So insurance is tracking that VIN very carefully, who it gets sold to. The salvage yard is under some strict orders with the insurance company. And oh, by the way, Nissan is now looking into it also because I just happen to have a couple of friends up in Nissan that I've contacted. So
Well, that's great. Yeah.
we'll,
Thanks for the explanation.
we'll, we'll, we'll,
I thought you had wrecked it.
no. I would be
I would
much
never hear it.
happier.
I would never hear the end of it. I wouldn't.
I would be much happier if I had wrecked it than the way that it went and then got stolen from me. But it is what it is, and stay tuned. There's going to be some teasers up on social for the next Channel Strong because the new one is going to be available, and you're going to be there, so you'll be there for the unveiling of the new number 28 sponsored vehicle by Channel Strong, MSPI.
Now, Tom, don't crash it, buddy.
Oh, do I get to drive? I already warned Pete. I had a sports car years ago. I don't have any.
Nobody gets to drive it.
No one.
It's now that because of the loss and the increase, I can't risk anybody driving my vehicles at all because of I don't
But
want
you'll
to be
drive. You'll
canceled.
take me for a ride there, right? You'll drive us around.
I'll take people for rides. Yes.
Okay, there we go.
But it'll be fun, and although not as powerful and not as aggressive sounding as the GTR, because I mean, we're going from about 700 all-wheel horsepower down to about 4-wheel or 400 horse rear wheel. So I'm giving some teaser hints here, but I you'll have to look and see what starts showing up on social over the next couple of weeks.
Oh, we'll see what this car looks like. All right. So just to make sure we didn't totally get too far off the beaten track, Tom, what day and what session does this book come out in Orlando at IT Nation? And then for people who aren't going there, where do they track when this book's available so that they can check it out?
Well, what I'm doing is, clearly you guys saw the post yesterday. That's my first post about the book. And there's going to be a series of those posts where I am talking about chapters in it, giving a preview, providing excerpts, and that's all leading up. I'm imagining now about 8 posts, although I'm also at like 10 shows between now and then. So I'm going to figure out how I work that all in. But I'll follow the George Bardisi model and get them done one a week or something like that. Make sure I get it done, stick to a plan, have it in my calendar, get those done. I've got an editor for the videos, great. And then what I'm going to do is, then we don't have actually a session at ConnectWise IT Nation this year. I'm going to have a set time that people can come by the booth and we'll do a signing and we'll give away like the first, 100 copies or something like that. Got to figure it out. I've done some books with another business before. I published with Amazon Publishing, just so people know you can do it very affordably. If you can put a book together, you want to make sure it's well edited, all that stuff's done, but you can get this done relatively inexpensive and make these kind of things happen where you don't have to worry about making it profitable and you can give these things away. So there'll be all that coming out over time. And I'm sure maybe, I'll have other opportunities to talk about this in webinars, podcasts, et cetera. And maybe I can come on again prior to that being released.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm pumped for it. Sounds like you put a lot of work into it. I'd love to hear and read what it says, because I think it might give people, effectively a blueprint on what they can do. And listen, there's a lot of smart marketing people out there, marketing firms out there, but sometimes you need to just educate yourself, right? Learn what to do. Even if you don't have time to do it, you at least understand how to add.
Hey, Tom, it's Matt. Choose your words wisely when you're responding to something related to marketing.
Uh-oh.
How you guys doing, guys?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, nothing. I just like giving Tom a hard time, and I like listening to you guys talk. How we doing today?
Doing good, man.
Good.
I think we're just ready for, I got everybody in the, hit me up for September, October, November, right? Like, it's just going to be you're going to lose track of the days. And before you know it, we're going to be in December. So this is the last calm before the storm, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I know. I'm headed to RR Philly next week, Robin. So, and then that just starts a barrage of shows and travel for me.
Oh yes.
Although I got to tell you, I get to do, check this out, George. I get to do RR Philly, and then I've got SMB in Dulles, and then the next week I've got DattoCon. So they're all here. I'm in Northern Virginia. So the RR's in Philly, but I'll be up your way. But I'm driving to everything until I go to Channel Strong.
Well, you know what that means? If you're in my backyard, that means I got to take you for a cheesesteak.
I should drop back by.
I mean, we'll make sure I'll stop by. We'll get you where you need to go. But you can't leave Philadelphia without me taking you to get the real deal. You know what I mean?
I was just going to ask, George, are you getting a posse together to go to Tony's?
I might have to set it up. I think so.
Tom won't eat the bread though. He'll just eat the filler.
That's fine.
I eat it. I go every once in a while. I mean,
no cheese on mine. No cheese on mine, George.
What do you mean no cheese? How do you have a cheesesteak without any?
That's how I get them. Just the beef and the bread. I don't even eat the bread usually. So, and the onions.
That's because you're on some sort of crazy diet. Come on.
I'm not on it. I should be. I'm sweating on the treadmill, but no, man, I just don't like cheese. It's healthier.
Darren, you're going to Tony Luke's. You got to get bread and cheese. It's part of the
I'm
package.
going all in, George, and I want a big order of fries on the side too.
Nice.
Listen, when I go out and eat, I eat clean at home. I eat whatever I want when I'm out.
It's not just fries; it's the curly fries with the cheese whiz. That's yeah.
I don't want the cheese whiz. How about you, Matthew? How are you going to have it?
Ooh. You know what? First of all, Bardisi's got to come out here and have some pizza on Long Island. But two,
I did commit that I will do that. I don't know when, but it's happening.
But two, there hasn't been a single mention of donuts from that slightly maybe insecure place down the street.
Donuts?
Come on, I think what was it when Jimmy Hatzel was on? We were talking about donuts.
Yeah,
look. We got donuts. We've talked about Chili's.
The donuts place down the street's legit.
There you go. See. We gonna have to try that too. I feel like there's an entire questionable food tour that's gonna happen one day.
Yeah,
Did you say pizza on Long Island? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, you heard that, Darren. What's up?
Where in Long Island?
All over Long Island. You from Long Island?
So I'm gonna
Yeah,
take the
well, I
I'm gonna
am,
take
yeah.
the pizza in Connecticut because I've been up there a couple times for our
All
office
right,
up
all right.
there.
Just no. Sorry, guys.
This
No.
can go downhill fast. This can go downhill. Okay, yeah.
The New Haven pizza, come on, man.
It's a
Pizza
very
Tech.
listen, you know, say what you will, but in the Northeast, I mean, the food's just better than anywhere else in the
No,
country.
Connecticut and New York pizza is unrivaled anywhere else, I will say, because having grown up in New York and went to college in Connecticut, and that's where we operate. Yeah, I could show you all the good pizza spots, and I will have cheese on that, but nothing else.
I will say in the U.S., yes, but I'm gonna go with Italy, like Rome area for pizza, and Alsace, France. It's
Italy's
next level.
overrated. Italy's overrated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bold statement, Cotton.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this, right? Everybody's spending all this money. We're going on all these trips, but like 50 to 70% of US business and business owners are saying that they're either going to freeze hiring or they're going to start laying people off. What does that mean? Like the next 12 months, people aren't feeling so good about it from the people who are signing the checks. If they're not, and even the big companies are laying people off and freezing people, not even the small people. I just heard a statistic the other day. I almost couldn't believe it. 70% of the US economy is based on consumer spending. 70%. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, we have to have people out there spending tons of money to employ everyone and keep the economy moving.
I mean, that's why that's why they can have the chain restaurants and, you know, all the Chick-fil-A's that we see and all. Like, it's literally because 70% of the economy is on consumer spending. So if these people realize that, you know, the economy is going down a little bit, what does that mean for the technology sector? I know, cliche, there's always some sort of delay, right, in between what the people on the street feel and what we see as service providers. But are you talking to people? Are the business owners that you guys are supporting, are they starting to kind of, you know, talk about this, or is it just not being talked about yet?
I see them pushing things out. You know, hey, we're not sure. It's a longer discussion. You know, we want to see what happens. You see a lot of that hesitancy. And George, I don't need to tell you, we went through the Great Recession as MSP owners. So we went through the not getting paid on time. And that was actually the move that I made, was to move to managed services because I got burned so hard by people not paying their bills.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to see more just kind of the tightening. And even if MSPs aren't affected yet, they're taking those steps. Hey, I don't want to hire anyone. I'll make these guys do more. But also there's opportunities. They might say, I want to get tools that help me do more, to help me be more productive. Find other ways to avoid, you know, hiring, or, you know, get things that do more than one thing for them. Go to vendors to get them multiple tools from one place. There's a lot of things I see them doing to combat that.
Well, I wonder, because I call this the trade show fatigue. Okay, I know Darren's, you know, what he says that's a little bit different. What I mean by that is, you walk down the aisle, you start swiping your credit card, you end up with all this stuff that you bought, and then 6 months later, when you haven't deployed a single one of them, you go and cancel them because you realize that you're spending money for something you're not using. How often do you hear that, Tom? I got to think still a lot.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I mean, people have, you know, like shiny ball syndrome. They pick up something, they think they're going to use it, or they pay for licenses for something and it's not deployed, and they're not good at auditing the licenses. But I'll tell you what, we have Matthew Fox on here, and he's at an MSP. He might have a perspective on this that really tells us, like, what are you doing when you're looking at maybe a possible recession coming up in the next 6 months or so? What are you taking steps now, even if it's not affecting you?
All right. Well, from the non-owner's perspective, we did a lot of optimizations during COVID. We went in, you know, some of the staff were reduced because people had left. We put new systems in place to make each person a little bit more efficient when it came to coverage. And I think that a lot of that's going to help us weather any incoming storm that happens. On the customer side, you know, we do a lot of stuff with PR and marketing and communications companies, and they're kind of like that. No one's recession proof really, but look, something's always going to have to be sold. There's always going to have to be a message communicated. And a lot of our customers are not necessarily looking like they're cutting back on spending or anything. I've noticed that like our change management team still has a significant amount of new machines being pushed out. We've got a lot of projects going on around compliance for these types of companies. So we've got new projects coming in and we still have things going pretty well. So I think it's really going to be based on the types of verticals that an MSP is targeting. And that's also why I always like to try and make sure that there's a significant amount of diversity in who we are targeting. If one area doesn't do so well, hopefully the others are going to keep us through. And that's exactly what happened during COVID. And I think that if there are financial difficulties or when they do hit, I think it's going to be a similar situation for us. I do hope that other MSPs have managed to create enough diversity with regards to the kinds of businesses that they're serving so that if there is one particular segment that kind of falls apart, they're still going to have the others to be able to depend on and make their way through.
No,
I think that's great. But I think I go back to what George was saying. I mean, like, to me, it's taking the time to go, what do I have here that I haven't deployed, that I'm not using? What am I paying for? Have I audited my licenses? I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I got in trouble with that. And I'm like, oh my God, we've been paying for like an extra 30 Office 365 licenses. All we had to do is sit there. I mean, and you can't bill anyone for it. It's out of your pocket.
We have so much Titanhq licensing around right now. It's ridiculous. I'm just,
you just told me you would double your spend with us the other day. It was actually the message.
Yeah, but I also made a keyboard that looks like a pack of Mentos last night. What do I do? I don't know.
But where's my emoji keyboard you promised?
I think I'm going to wait on a deposit for that before we get started. I'm waiting for M&Ms. I'm waiting for M&Ms from one guy on this thing and a deposit from another.
A deposit? I had a box sent to you that's on video of you opening it with a huge knife full of like chocolates from Ireland.
I think huge knife was the operative term in that sentence. Yeah. Pay me. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, we're going to make that keyboard. It's going to be a lot of fun to put together for you guys, you know? And
I love emojis, George.
I feel like Matthew Fox went to the other side of the Amazon portal and fired up a keyboard store where he just makes really cool keyboards.
They're badass. I want one. I mean, I've told him, but I told him I like the keyboard I have already, so I want the emoji keyboard. So I usually insert emojis in everything I'm doing. Just abuse the use of the emoji keyboard.
I'm apologizing to the entire MSP community in advance for the emojis that are going to be coming out.
It's a separate keyboard, George. Sit off to the side.
Oh, okay. I was like wondering. I was like,
it's a physical keyboard.
A lot of emojis. How do you get to fit that on just like one regular keyboard?
It's a physical keyboard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small form factor, 40% keyboard that you custom program once you get it put together.
Wow. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what Tom's putting out once this keyboard's in place.
Smiley faces, confused faces, you name it.
Just Matthew Fox works on chocolate. That's what I got out of this.
I am
you haven't seen the video, George. Go see it. It was posted a couple days ago. You'll love it.
I'll have to go backwards and see that.
I'll send you a link.
Matthew sends me some pictures. I got one today of a keyboard, and I was like, whoa. Either Matthew has too much time on his hands or his MSP is running so efficiently. Dude's able to multitask really well.
I haven't slept since like 1988. Come on.
He does that. That's your after hours stuff, right? You just sit there and like build those things, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you usually hear from me when the day ends and it's all the non-MSP stuff that goes on, right?
100%. That's exactly right. Well, that means
balance.
That's the right attitude. Balance is absolutely right. Did I catch it right, Darren, that you're going to be joining us in DC? Were you hotel shopping the other day?
I'm hotel shopping literally right now. Literally, and it's very disturbing, I will say.
Well, yeah. I'm from DC, Darren. If you wanted to talk about it, our CEO Ronan Kavanaugh is going to join us, and I just did the hotel thing with him because I actually grew up. DC small. I grew up partly in Northwest and partly in Northern Virginia. I've actually got a list of the hotels that are closest to the convention center. I can tell you which ones are best.
No, I appreciate it. I'm looking at it. It's just they're pretty pricey, I gotta say.
Well, yeah. I'm staying at the Marriott Marquis. That was part of the room block to begin with, and I saw that and I swooped in and got that because that's like a $750 night hotel, and they had it for like $320. But there's the Morrison Clark Inn. I'd recommend that one. That's real close by. You know, they still got a room block on the Embassy Suites. That's on the website link on DattoCon. So I assume that's what you're coming to. And then there's one called Eaton, DC.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. It's
You can't.
In- a
Where'd
little
all those
indecisive.
points go, man? Can't help you now.
What was that?
You don't have enough points to
Oh,
help.
no,
another-
I could use the point. I'd save the points not for a business trip though, you know?
I got
I
you.
mean,
Yeah,
that's
I
the
feel
way
the
to
same
do it.
way, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
George is smiling because he just went through this process the other day,
Mhm.
and he watched points drain up too.
No, I just.
Well, no, I
was
mean,
like,
look, the smart way, really, redeeming points for, extremely clear-cut business trips are not the smartest move. So,
Yeah, exactly, Jared. I'll tell you what I'm doing. At IT Nation Connect ends 3 days later. I'm going with a family friend to Israel for 10 days, and we are burning 2 million points.
wow.
We're going.
I
We're
like it.
taking an Emirates Airbus A380 business class to Dubai and then connecting to Tel Aviv. That starts. I can't even tell you how many points that burned right there.
No, it's worth
That
it
was
though.
like a
Gotta do
million.
it.
Yeah,
It's the way
2
to do
million
it.
points because it's saving them up for years. Just going to use them all at once and have a great trip. I donated $1 million, and a family friend donated $1 million, and it's going to be amazing. But that's how you use them for the personal trips.
See, I just use my points, like way back when younger George, got his Eagles season tickets, and I signed up for the NFL card. You pick your team, right? And you just
Yeah.
keep swiping that card for, a sandwich here, a gas tank fill up here. And then like eventually sometime in your lifetime, when your team goes to the Super Bowl, you have enough points to go. You get the tickets as part of the points.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. So you've been to the Super Bowl a couple times?
Oh, the Eagles. I somehow got convinced out of 2004, but we lost. So hindsight's 2020. But in 2017, oh yeah, I definitely went into the tundra in Minnesota. And my negative 15-degree temperature. By the way, whoever's out there listening in Cyberland, don't put the NFL in cold weather cities. Bad idea. It's supposed to be hot, vacation areas, please, for the love of God. But yeah, no, I went to that Super Bowl in 2017. I came out with the trophy and a hell of a lot of snow. That's what I got. But I'll take it because, I don't know when the next Super Bowl comes to this city. I may be dead. We'll see.
I don't know, man. They get some consistency, so I think it'll happen again before that.
I hope so. NFC lease, guys. Never know. Which, speaking of which, I haven't really, I don't know who has anybody actually been. I'm sure, Tom, you've been to the National Stadium before.
Oh yeah, many
I mean,
times.
I went one time for a game. I didn't have a chance to really walk around the place. Anybody else been to this National Stadium before?
I can tell you a little about it.
Yeah. Tell me. What are we going to see, man?
Okay. First of all, it's really cool. We have an incredible thing here in the DC area because we've got the Orioles ballpark up there in Baltimore. Beautiful. And it's kind of old school, built into the side of that original building. Really cool. And then National Stadium is more on the modern side and eco-friendly. They passed, I don't know, all those different standards. And then it's kind of got this warm, open feel and lots of different food vendors and stuff like that are great. And I've been out on the field a number of times. So I saw Billy Joel and Elton John dueling pianos there like 10 years ago. It was amazing. So it's just like a really friendly stadium to go with lots of great things to do. And I know you've got all kinds of extra activities and games set up there. When you said you were doing it, I was like really quick to be like, oh, we want in on that.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I've done a lot of big parties at this point, but I've never rented a professional stadium of any size. Let me tell you, it does not come easy. There are a lot of strings and a little bit of red tape, but hey, first time for everything. And as a Philadelphia sports guy, I feel like I should have done it here before I went anywhere else, but that's okay. We rented this, the National Stadium. I actually went down just to check it out, on an off day to see how this whole thing works. Man, you think you've seen all the space in a pro stadium. It's crazy how much space it's like hidden behind the scenes.
It's enormous. It's a great location. Yeah, that's gonna be a great party. Looking forward to that. And that's like you made it some kind of like it's an official party for DattoCon this time, right? It's not like an offshoot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Rob Ray and the team at Datto, we've been working with them for years on this type of stuff. So really happy that they put us on the schedule. And and not for nothing, right? Wanted to make sure we found a safe place in the city or nearby that we could go to at night without too many problems. And the stadium is one where you absolutely know you're not going to have an issue with that. So was very excited to cross that one off the list. And
Is Pete
yeah.
coming? Is Pete going to be there? Pete,
Oh,
you
yeah.
coming? All right.
Pete's
Not
absolutely.
only am I coming, but we'll also have a booth, which is very unique for us.
The booth
How about
at the
that?
stadium?
A
No, I doubt
booth
it.
at DattoCon.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. But he'll be there.
this will be like massive for us. 2 booths in 1 year instead of just 1 booth per year.
Oh,
You know?
yeah, because I saw, Titanhq, I saw yours there. So I
Yeah.
thought it was a regular thing. By the way,
No,
you're gonna be doing our new booth coming end of our rebrand. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll let everyone know.
yeah. I'm looking forward to working with you guys on that, and I think it'll be pretty hot once you got your rebrand in place. So.
It's amazing how much, trade show booths very much grown from the pop-up banner. I can tell you that.
Yeah. And you do pay money for this, but it's a necessary thing. I mean, you got to put the money into it. It will deliver once again. You put the money into marketing and you do it right and you do it consistently and it comes back to you. It might take a while, but I know Pete's going to do us right on that. And so we've been talking about it, looking forward to that. I wish it could happen tomorrow, but kind of got to wait until these rebrand things happen and that gets sorted out.
I see Matthew Fox ready to say something. Go ahead.
We'll be there. We'll be there.
All right.
Not an issue, Tom.
So Matthew, are you going to be joining one of these events at the tail end of the year here, or are we going to have to come up to New York to find you?
I think you're going to have to come up to New York. In fact, my plans have changed a bit. I'm not even going to make it to DattoCon this year.
Wow.
The good news, however, is that Valiant CIO and Service Director are going to be there with the president. They've already registered for your event.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's great. We'll make sure to take care of them. But I'm still coming for that pizza.
You're going to come for pizza. You're going to bring some cheesesteaks and a couple of Ziploc bags, and we're going to have a nice time.
Oh.
Ziploc bags.
They'll be all soft and wet in some Ziploc bags.
But Pete, you're gonna pick them up in your car. You're gonna be here in like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, the way George drives, yes, 25 minutes from Philly to New York City.
You won't let me drive your car, pal. Let's face it.
I let you drive the GTR once.
Okay.
Hey, George,
once.
George, I got an Eclipse GST in my garage for sale if you want it.
Oh, okay.
It's a 96. It's got a turbo. It's a convertible. It's got a leather interior.
What did
it's
you
just
do?
missing
Buy
the
this
back
right
half.
after the first Fast and Furious came out?
How many cars are over there that aren't working?
We got one good. We got the good Jeep, the 2020 Cherokee. Then we've got my 94 Cherokee SE. That's my baby, but the engine blew and it's got to get replaced someday. Probably get diesel with that and get like a two-speed transmission put into it.
There you go.
And then
diesel. I like
I've got the 96 Mitsubishi Eclipse GST that I got rear-ended, and that's one of the times I ate a steering wheel. They don't taste good. But that's hanging out in the garage because someday I'd like to get it done. Although I gotta tell you, the interior of that car is so small. Sometimes I feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando when he rips the front seat out of the car. You remember that scene? He just throws it and gets in. That's what those Eclipses feel like when you get into them. I mean, I'm a big dude, but I'm not that big. Man, it's cramped.
You got a lot of space for all these cars, pal.
I got a sprawling ranch.
Okay.
I got space
in Long Island.
Yeah, man, I got enough room in my front yard to build an entire Chick-fil-A if I wanted to.
I'm sure your neighbors love to look at this. Maybe look
That's
at this
a
front
bold
yard.
statement too.
Actually, all right. You know what? I realize this isn't MSP stuff related, but you said it. My neighbors, one guy looks like he's got a junkyard in the house. He's got a school bus on one side of my house, and the guy on the other side's got a school bus that was turned into an RV. So any kind of mess that I create is going to be very much obscured by them.
School bus
Definitely no
into
HOA
RV.
going on there.
School bus into RV I see at all, like, I tailgate all the football games down here in Philadelphia. I mean, that's normal. I see that.
Just George, just keep it up in Philly, please. I'm from the DC area. I don't need it.
You got enough problems down there, Tom.
I just don't need you guys bringing that down here. Like,
you know what? Maybe
what that turns into.
Maybe we're gonna have to tailgate the party, right? Right outside. We'll bring the bus down. Yeah.
I think you guys need a new jail underneath your stadium, like before. Probably a good idea.
Well, they have to revamp the holding area every once in a while. That's for sure. All right. I know we kind of went a little bit all over the place in this call, but Tom, I'm sure we're going to have you back on for the end of the year. We're going to hear about when this book comes out as we're getting closer to IT Nation in November. But totally looking forward to seeing you in Philadelphia next week, DC in a couple weeks after that. Everyone else, again, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1:00 Eastern time, MSPinitiative.com, channelstrongtour.com. And then you can check out the MSP community block parties. They're all listed. Looking forward to seeing everyone. Catch you on the next one.